Hi, team. This is George. Just wanted to welcome you to week 3. We've had a fantastic week, too. I've been very happy with the conversations and the level of writing skills that everyone's showing with the toolboxes. So, just thanks for the amazing effort that it takes to be an adult learner because we're putting that effort in. Everybody's sharing their stories, and that quite simply is not the easiest thing to do at times. So I appreciate everyone jumping in, sharing their stories, and just having an overall good experience with class. So I wanted to kind of go over and look at our week 2 discussions. The amygdala response, as we all know, it can be very, very strong. We know this not only from our reading, but from real life. We know that sudden urge, that fear, that fight, that anger can just boil up in a minute. But as we saw in our scripture this week, um, we don't have to act that way. And actually, it's foolish if we do immediately jump to that amygdala response. So there we can control it, and we do control it probably 99% of the time. Uh, and talking about your stories, I wanted to go in and just share for a couple minutes. If I can get there, we go. Sorry, I was looking up some sage there. So these are week 3 discussions. Let me jump back to week 2 real quick. And I want to show you what I like about the week 2 discussions. Now I'm just going to hit a few the initial ones, but the comments that I make can fall down to all the discussions. I just don't want to make everybody dizzy with all the scrolling. So Dumond, you started and you talked about the dinner date that you were having with your wife, and when somebody actually got hit with a piece of food. I mean, that immediately out of nowhere sort of thing that can happen can really just snap anybody right into that amygdala response. But your wife was there and she de-escalated the situation quickly because your wife has a soothing voice for you. So that was just a fantastic experience that you shared with us there, and I appreciate it. And then Estancia, you came in and you talked about Iman's response and how you commended the way that he was able to de-escalate that, because that could have been very volatile, because it started with, even though it was a piece of food, that still comes across to us as an attack. And so that's a very tense situation. And then Stacy, your car accident with all the teenagers in it, that's a harrowing experience as well. And sometimes that amygdala response gives us that burst of energy so we can think of others, and that kind of happened in this case here. So in everybody's responses back to you, that was outstanding. And then there was one, oh, I'm sorry, I told you I wasn't going to scroll, and then here I am scrolling. So Coral, we had a good conversation here on, you were talking about your inner voice remaining calm, and that's so important. We're going to go into the end of this as far as how we remain calm and things like that. So let's jump right back into it. When we are in that type of situation, two things that I have found that helped me the most, and they help just about anybody, athletes, people under stressful situations, soldiers, and that's breathing. If you could just, when you have that initial response, if you could just focus back on your breath. And what I mean by that is when you can just feel that breath coming in, so just feel it coming in through your nose and just let it cycle right out through your mouth. When you can do that, you can control that pace because your blood pressure goes up, heart rate goes up immediately. So that's one thing where you can control that immediate fight response by your breath. But you really want to be able to feel it, because that takes your focus from that initial response to your breath. And we can't really focus on two things at once. So that's a fantastic thing. Now, if you're in a situation and it's fear, or you think you can't do something, you can't go forward, what you want to do is you want to focus on your breath there as well, because then it's going to take that focus off of the I can't. And when we're breathing, we know we're alive, we know we're surviving, we know we're moving forward, whatever the situation calls for. So that helps us put that focus on something that we know that we can do. So it gives us that control so we can move forward. So that's why breathing is so important for the amygdala response and life in general as we move on. And then the week 3 discussion, relationship and conflict. No one here has ever had a conflict in their relationship, right? It's not possible. Um, well, in our relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's marriage, whatever it may be, Scripture is where the answers are located. That's why in our discussion this week, I'm sorry, let me get there. In our discussion this week, one of the things that we have to do is, oops, sorry, pink relationship conflict. One of the things we have to do is, as we reflect on the Goldman on Appendix E and share your ideas about going or growing and regarding identified relationship and all that, uh, we want to go ahead and talk about a scripture, because go in and research that and look and see what scripture is going to help us to reflect, going to help us to grow in that area. Because even in my sports psychology, Philippians 8:4 basically contains sports psychology in a nutshell. So nothing that we're doing here is new. It's thousands of years old. It was given to us uh, by God through the Bible. So all the scriptures there give us some sort of meaning, and especially in relationship and conflict, we just have to quickly look and see, and we can find numerous resources really quickly for relationship and conflict. Now, the most important thing from my perspective is that when there is that conflict, you just take that same thing with that amygdala response. Just take the time to pause, because when you take that time to pause, then you can reflect, and it becomes less about the response and more about growing and knowing and understanding the other person. So take that time to pause so we can get to understand that other person. That's kind of why I like the way we had the amygdala response first, because relationship conflict, it can rub on that amygdala response a little bit as well, but hopefully not with the conflict we're talking about this week. But the concepts are the same. Take that pause, relax, get to know where that conflict's coming from. Look underneath it. Don't just look at the um, at the symptom of what's going on, whatever that conflict may be. Take a look underneath and see what's happening. Learn from it and grow. That's how conflict can actually make our relationships stronger. It all depends on how we approach it. And then our week 3 overview. I hope everyone has enjoyed these weeks as much as I have so far. So for week 3, we have our discussion. You have another toolbox, and we have our emotional intelligence one more time. So we're getting into a pattern, into a groove, if you will, of what we have to do every week. And just FYI, our toolboxes and the emotional intelligence pieces that you've been turning in have been high caliber. So I appreciate the effort that it takes to do these. The APA standards are there, writing standards are there. So just keep up that good work and always challenge yourself, even though you're doing a fantastic job now. Always challenge yourself to do a little bit better, to do a little bit more, because that's how we grow here as well. So academically, we have to grow. We're going to be talking about growing within our relationships and conflicts this week as well. So wherever we are, we want to be in a state of growth, because if we're not in a state of growth, then we're moving in the wrong direction, because life is moving forward and we're standing still. So we want to be in that growth pattern as well. So um, everyone's doing very well in class. So challenge yourself even more. And our live session, Thursday, May 25th, we're going to have a live session. Now, never are these sessions mandatory. This is just extra. And it's not a lecture. It's always interactive. It's led by me. I lead it, but I it's more of a discussion, and we go towards the things that are important to you. So if you want to be a part of that, there is in the one of the announcements I posted a Google survey. If you could just go and tell me when you're available, things like that, because I would hate to put it on during a time where nobody could be there, because these are good sessions. They're generally fun sessions. They're fast paced. They're a half hour long, so it's not like it's going to be something you have to dread. So if you like this sort of thing, please feel free to participate. But let me know, because I put some times out there where I'm available, and if you all aren't available, then it's just not a fit. So we'll just keep trying to find that fit. And so now feel free in the survey, if you don't like these sort of things, the live sessions, feel free to click no, I don't want to go. That's okay. Um, not everybody likes a live session. Some people don't. We're online for a reason, and that's perfectly acceptable. So don't think that you have to come or you have to say you will show up, because they are absolutely voluntary, but they will be a lot of fun. I promise you that, and we will get into deeper information and deeper learning on the different subjects we're talking about. And that's it. So let's have an amazing week 3.